I wish you wouldn't do that. I mean, we get all excited, but there's not a thanks or a cashier. Put smaller denominations in. All right? Last Sunday I spoke about the symbolic meaning of the serpent in the Garden of Eden. I'm getting, sounds kind of echoey. You know, and you can, when you get a chance, just take the lights down a little bit. Whenever you see my eyebrows smoldering. Okay. Yes, and I spoke about how the serpent leads mankind, Adam and Eve, into temptation. And out of that temptation comes the illusion of judgment and subsequent guilt, causing mankind to be expelled from the Garden of Eden, which in the Hebrew is the Garden of Delight, or the Garden of Light, the Garden of Joy, happiness. So, you know, in unity especially, we're not talking about historic events or anything like that. We're talking about consciousness. And so mankind, somehow or other, was born into the consciousness, created in the consciousness of delight, or light, or enlightened consciousness, but ultimately was expelled from that, fell from that consciousness. And understanding that is what we're about doing. Because until we understand that, we'll not understand why we have all of the conflict, suffering, pain, and war in the world that we inhabit. We will not understand that. We still don't. We keep thinking it has to do with some evil conditions or circumstances that prevail. But really, it only has to do with consciousness. The serpent traditionally is represented symbolically as a dragon, or, you know, but in unity, and then of course in miracles, we know that it represents the ego. So it is a thought system or a condition of awareness that keeps mankind from experiencing the joy, the happiness, the absolute peace of enlightenment. You should also know that in that garden story, God says to Adam and Eve, you can eat of any tree you want in the garden. You can experience whatever you want in this whole creation. But you shouldn't involve yourself in this illusion. Stay away from this illusion. And this is where the serpent comes in. And this is where the serpent beguiles them to believe that they could actually get into the consciousness and be just like God, capable of judgment, which only brought about condemnation and ultimately brings about guilt. And it is out of our illusionary idea of life that we have all of the suffering that we experience. Now, individuals everywhere are moving away from that, getting out of that, transcending suffering, because they're transcending the illusionary consciousness that they were born into, raised in, and taught to believe in. And that's what we're about doing. It's our spiritual journey. After giving that talk last week, someone came up to me afterwards and said, that was the best talk you have ever given. And I was starting to feel good about that until he asked to borrow $20. So I wasn't so sure that it was the best talk I ever given. But it might have been. Let's see if we can make it. You know, sometimes I wish I hadn't gotten rid of my own ego. Because there are certain people that I would just love to condemn. But I can't. In last week's talk, I mentioned the key element in returning to the garden. Returning to the garden is really restoring our awareness of oneness with God. That's what it is. That's all that's happened. In man's evolutionary process, all that has happened is man has fallen away from the awareness of the oneness of the divine intelligence and love, which is this universe and everything in it. Not understanding that, realizing that, or experiencing life from that perspective is our human dilemma and our ongoing sin. So, in returning to the garden of light, or the consciousness of enlightenment, is restoring our awareness of oneness, of the oneness of God, of being one with God, not separate from God. That's what our journey is about. And that journey requires subduing the ego. It is incumbent upon us to subdue the ego. And the only way to subdue the ego is to finally recognize it, to see it as it operates, and to realize that it is bringing about more conflict, more suffering in our experience. The ego has been called a number of things: tempter, usurper of souls. In the Bible, Jesus refers to it as the father of lies. And he speaks to those that are attempting to follow that as those who are following your father of lies. That is the consciousness of lies. How can you find freedom? How can you find peace? How can you find healing if the whole foundation of your awareness is based upon an illusionary interpretation of yourself and this creation in which you find yourself? And so, this is our journey. This is why we have the Masters down through the ages calling us into a transformation in consciousness. The ego or devil has been symbolized down through the ages, as a serpent or a dragon. In a number of Renaissance paintings, you will see some saint or some angel in the painting standing over with their foot on a dragon. And they'll either be holding up a sword or some light from their hands, but they will have subdued this dragon or this serpent in this painting. You can see these paintings if you go to the museum in New York City. I've seen them there. As a matter of fact, it's the angel, the archangel Michael, is in one of them, having subdued the dragon under his feet. That image is also powerfully illustrated in the great film Avatar. Symbolically parallels the life. It actually symbolically parallels the life of truth revealed to us in A Course in Miracles. And I'll just give you a synopsis of the story, because honestly, if you haven't seen Avatar yet, and I'll guess that at least 85% of you here have seen it. If you haven't seen it yet, you're simply just not a moviegoer or something, or maybe you're still just behind the times. It happens to be the greatest movie that has ever been made. I not only say that it's the greatest movie that has ever been made, it is the greatest work of art that has ever been bestowed upon the planet. The greatest work of art that has ever been bestowed upon the planet. And it is well deserving of the reception it's receiving at the box office. It has now grossed over $2 billion. I doubt it will ever be surpassed. I don't think the sequel will surpass it. It's an amazing film because it impacts the consciousness. It speaks to the soul. It uses a lot of mythical symbols that really speak to the soul. People sometimes don't even know why they're going back to see it a second time, because it inspired them. Their soul was moved by it. One of the elements in that film, well, let me explain it to you for those of you that haven't seen it. It takes place on another planet in the future, and this young Marine who is from our world, he goes to this planet because he's going to take on an avatar body.